of 2018, a really big scientific report came out that looked at what we need to do by 2030 to try to limit warming. And after that report, a group of activists, along with newly elected Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, did a sit-in at Nancy Pelosi's office. And what they wanted was for the Democrats to take the climate crisis more seriously. In response to a lot of this activism, Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats decided to set up a new select committee, which is a committee that exists to study a kind of specific niche topic. And so that committee on the climate crisis got formed, and they spent about 18 months studying the issue and came out with a really important new plan for how the Democrats think about the climate crisis. So that means that we need to be thinking about what are we doing in the next decade. That is what this report does. When it comes to the United States, about 70% of our emissions come from three sectors: electricity, transportation, and buildings. And so if we just look at those three sectors, we can think about what can we do in the next 10 to 15 years to take them on. And what the report does is it sets out a bunch of targets and timetables for those three sectors. So for example, it targets 100% clean electricity by 2040. It targets 100% zero emissions car sales by 2035, meaning that in 2035, if you wanted to buy a new car, it would probably have to be an electric vehicle. And that our new buildings that we are building by 2030 all need to be 100% clean, basically. This is a much more ambitious timeline and set of goals than we've seen from the Democratic Party in the past. Climate justice is also about racial justice. And so taking on the climate crisis will provide an enormous amount of benefits to Black and Indigenous Americans who really are on the front lines of air pollution and climate impacts. If we want to put racial justice at the center of our policy going forward, which I obviously support, that involves taking on the climate crisis, because Black Americans overwhelmingly live within 3 miles of a coal plant. There are studies that show that they are way more impacted by climate impacts, including, for example, with unborn fetuses. They're more likely to miscarry within Black communities because of extreme heat events from climate change, because of climate impacts. So air pollution, climate change is all hitting frontline Indigenous and Black Americans and their communities the hardest. And if we really want to have racial justice, we must center climate justice in our approach in 2021.
I've seen it, I've read some of it, and it's fine.
They say economic impact is devastating.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
The Select Committee's new plan really is a benefit to all Americans, because it shows that there is an agenda that if we have a Democratic president in 2021, and if we have a Democratic-controlled Congress, particularly on the Senate side, that there's an opportunity for us to start tackling this crisis. And that won't just bring benefits in terms of reducing climate impacts like forest fires and hurricanes, or reducing air pollution, which disproportionately burdens Black and Indigenous Americans. It will also create an enormous amount of benefits through new jobs. If we put money into clean energy, we get 3 times the amount of jobs that we get if we put money into fossil fuels. This is a really great opportunity to rebuild our economy in a way that creates economic opportunity for all Americans.